So yes, I'm definitely separated from my wife. Now I love my wife, don't get me wrong. I have nothing has changed as far as the love. There's no love deficiencies going on. It's just the fact that I'm starting to love myself a little bit more. And when I say that, I mean it as, like, I don't think a lot of people know that, you know, I gave up a lot for my wife, a lot of my life for my wife. So
why? So how did that happen? What happened?
It's like, you know, when I met my wife, of course, yes, we fell in love, and we were friends first, and then we fell in love. But at the same time, when it started getting a little more serious, and we were talking about getting married, you know, I had already told her that I would never get married. I would never get married. I've seen people married, and I just didn't like what I was seeing. Like, you know, I came up with both of my parents, and my parents were having a rough time, and I would just see what the type of things that were going on. So I had always been scarred from marriage, from that. From friends of mine that got married young, and then I told her I would never do that, and she was like, okay. But then all of a sudden my feelings started to kind of change. Like when you love someone and you see they kind of doing their own thing, and it's like, you know what, I think I need to take it another level if I want to keep her around, and for her to be, you know, solely belong to me or be mine. So, you know, of course, yes, I asked her to marry me. I'm still happy about that choice when I asked her to marry me, and she said yes, and we got married. But I think the fact when we got married on television, I think that's when everything kind of like, I wasn't expecting what came with that. And even though I knew what came with marrying my wife, you know, just the fact of her history, and, you know, who she was already married to, and, you know, things you know, people told me, no, it's a million girls out here. You got all these girls. Why would you want to marry that one? And I was like, because that's the one I love. Like, it's, you know, just whatever. But when we got married, like, a lot of stuff came with that. It was like the public hate that I was receiving, which I'm cool with, because I don't care about what people say too much. But
the public hating that you received, what?
It's just the public hate, like, oh yeah, he's not Wayne, oh he doesn't make money like Wayne, oh why would you fuck with him, oh this, that, and that, and I don't really care about that. You know, even my kids' moms, they used to live in Atlanta, and then all of a sudden they just broke off and left when I got married. So it was like everybody was trying to make it hard for me, even with the K. Michelle thing. Like, yes, I used to date her, but when I got married, or when word got out that it was me, that me and Toya were dating, and we were taking it to a marriage level, you know. So basically, what happens is, leading up to the separation, it's a period of time. It was over time.
Okay.
It's just over time. Like when I was offered to go on the show to defend myself, Mona called me, and it was like, you know, you should come on the show and defend yourself. And even though I had warned Mona already about that this stuff never happened, because they told me this was about to happen. So I was like, none of that stuff ever happened, so don't do that, you know, whatever. So they did it anyway. They let her do it. And even though she didn't say my name, she led people to me by the description or whatever. So Mona called me and said, you should come on the show and defend yourself. And I was like, okay, I'm on my way. I'm coming. So I tell my wife that we were in Vegas, and I'm telling my wife I just got a call from Mona. She want me I can come defend myself on that show. And she's like, you're about to go on that show and defend yourself? Defend yourself? Like, you about to go on that show and be arguing back and forth with your ex-girlfriend over some petty shit like that, and embarrass me, and that's disrespecting me. And I was like, disrespecting you? I was like, she was like, no, you know, she was adamant about no, like, I'm not going on that show. So I kind of got an ultimatum basically after a couple of days of Mona waiting on my answer. You know, my wife was kind of like, yo, if you go on that show, you know, we might as well call this over with, because I'm not dealing with that kind of disrespect. So I was like, I took a few days and thought about it, and was like, I even left the room. I just left the room. I was mad. I slammed the door. I just left. I was like, how she want me to just walk away from that? She's like, you need to do the right thing and just sue. And I was like, sue? So I come back. I told her, you know what? All right, I'm not gonna go on the show. I called Mona. I told Mona I can't come on the show. That's gonna be disrespectful to my wife. And Mona's like, what? Well, why don't you tell her to come on the show, and both of y'all come on the show and be cast members and all this? And I was like, all right, let me try that one. So I went back and asked her again, and my wife was like, I ain't with it. No, that ain't my brand. I ain't trying to do that. I ain't trying to be on no ratchet show and doing all that crazy stuff. I can see what they would try to do already. They're gonna get you on there. They're gonna try to embarrass you. I was like, well, maybe we should go together. So if she tries something, I'm gonna just defend myself. If she tries something, you know, that's for you to jump in, you know. And she's like, I ain't doing that. So I called Mona back, tell her that she ain't with that either. I can't come. Then Mona calls me one last time for the reunion. I said, she ain't with it. You know, I asked my wife again. She said, why are you asking me that again? We talked about that, and like, leave that alone. Do it the right way. Call some attorneys and sue. If you didn't really do that, you need to do the right thing and sue. So that's what I did. I called some attorneys and I sued. I sued everybody. So, but at the time, I didn't realize what I had just done.
What does that mean? What had you just done?
What I had just done was I had just sued my career. I left Memphis and did all these things and went to New York, not knowing one soul. Worked the streets, did what I had to do, jumping in movies, doing all this stuff. Nobody knows me. I'm just in New York, living basically out of a suitcase that I came there with from Memphis. And I got into this label. I ended up just working.
What year was that?
This is like 2000, 2001, 2002. It was
that was when you were the intern and you worked for L.A. Reid?
Yes, ma'am. I was the intern for L.A. Reid around 2002, 2001, 2002, late 2002. And I kind of moved up in the building pretty fast, and I ended up, it ended up turning into, I ended up being a vice president of A&R, like, from the Young Bloods to Damn. When Damn came out, I was behind that as an intern. Then here comes Jaquan, everybody in the club getting tipsy. Then here comes T-Pain with all his hits, and then K. Michelle, and all these people that I'm dealing with, and everything I did was totally supported by not only my companies and these companies that I'm making all these millions of dollars for, but everything I had would go through BET. I got to go to BET. I had a show on BET. They gave me a show. I was getting so successful. I had my own show.
What show was that?
The Deal. I had a show called The Deal, and I didn't apply for that show or just go up there and try to be on TV. Stephen Hill sought me out, and I got a message that he wanted to meet me. So I go up to his office, meet him, and he's like, so I sit down, and he's like, just tell me about you. Go from day one and just tell me how you get here. He's like, I've heard so many things about you, and you just so successful with everything you're doing, everything you touch. Like, they're calling you like a golden kid or something like. And he's like, just tell me who you are. So I told him the same things I'm telling you, like where I came from and how I got to New York and did all this and interned until I got here. And he was like, wow. He was like, you ever thought about being on TV? And I was like, yeah, what's up? He's like, I want to do a show around you. He's like, I just want to do a show around you. And he's like, I don't know what I'm gonna call it yet, but whatever. So I was like, well, that's following Rap City, like Tigger and all that. He's like, yeah, you can do it. He's like, I can just tell you can follow Tigger. And I was like, well, how about we call it Hit City, since everybody calls me Memphitz? And he was like, yeah, you wish. And we were laughing or whatever. He said, I think I'm gonna call it The Deal, because that's what you're all about, the deal. Like, you help people people with talent get to another level because of the deal situations you put them in. So I was in full like bed, so to speak, with BET, MTV, VH1, all things under Viacom, and they supported anything I had done up to that point. So the fact that I'm with my wife and I get put in between my wife and my career.
Right.
And I was, a part of me was like, at first I was like looking at my wife like, fuck what you talking about. I'm not, what? That's my career. Like, I have a career. Like, I gotta go defend myself. And even if I go in and defend myself, I don't know what it might turn into. Like, my face card, I don't have a job right now. I already got fired, when we got married. As soon as we got married, I get fired. Same day.
Who fired you?
Sony fired me. Jive Records, Sony, So as soon as I got married and I was on my wife's show, they was like, oh, you Mr. TV man now, and you don't be at work and this and this and that. And I was just like, I'm getting caught up in a world that's affecting my career. So it was like at that point where I got that ultimatum, and it was like, my wife was like, what are you gonna choose? So I'm looking at her like, my wife or my career? My wife or my career? And I just was like, I just closed my eyes and said, I love my wife. I chose my wife. So after